updated power rankings after 2 weeks of the 2025 college football season.
College football is back, and we're back on the Big Mountain with an update to the TBM Power Rankings.
Welcome back to the Big Mountain. I'm JY. This is my good friend Steve, and it's time for an update to our preseason rankings. If you're new to the channel, we take all the Big Ten teams, all the Mountain West teams. We add in Oregon State and Washington State because we adopted them 2 years ago now. And also Florida State, a team that you think is headed towards the Big Ten sometime. Who knows when. But we threw them in here for fun. Last year, it wasn't so much fun for them last year. But this year, I think, is going to be quite different.
Last year, they dropped like a hot rock.
It just kept going. We couldn't get them low enough, it felt like. So, all right, well, we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to work our way up. Of course, we have 33 teams. And, Steve, we didn't have any ties last time. We have a lot of ties this time.
Okay.
So, you and I think, overall, we agreed quite a bit. Of course, towards the bottom, it is kind of hard. We're only 2 weeks into the season. You're talking about Mountain West schools, a couple PAC schools, Big Ten schools. It's hard to compare these daggone schools. But we'll start at the bottom, work our way up. We have actually tied for 32 here, Steve.
I will just say, it's always hard comparing the schools. One thing is, we actually did get a lot of Big Ten Mountain West matchups this year early in the season. So that kind of helps a little.
It did help a little bit. Yeah, we had 3 there in week 1 for sure. So, and we had another one here in week 2, or 2 in week 2, I guess. So we've had several.
Where we had a Mountain West straight up victory over a Big Ten team.
For sure. All right, well, let's start at the bottom. We actually have a tie here for the bottom, and it's tough. I'll tell you, these bottom 5, I mean, you can make an argument, honestly, one way or another. But our bottom 2 here tied for 32nd. San Diego State and Nevada. Of course, San Diego State coming off a huge win there in week 1 against Stony Brook, and then a pretty disappointing showing there against Washington State. Nevada eking out a win versus Sacramento State there in week 2. Up from them, we have Northwestern, then New Mexico, Purdue sitting at 29, Utah State at 28, then Colorado State, Oregon State at 26, down 8. The biggest mover here on the whole board is Oregon State. Then we have, sitting at 25th, Washington State, then Maryland, Wyoming, tied there with Maryland at 23rd. And then eking out into the top, close to the top 20, we have Fresno State at 22 and Wisconsin at 21. So we have 2 ties again, Wyoming and Maryland at 23. I think that's fairly consistent with where those teams are at right now. And at the bottom, Nevada and San Diego State. And as I said, the bottom's really tough at this point. Nobody, please don't take offense. I can be talked one way or another, kind of in that bottom 5. So, any thoughts from you, Steve, there in that bottom third?
A couple things. Well, I see looked like we had a pretty big discrepancy on Fresno State.
We did, yep. The biggest one of the rankings, actually.
Yeah. I had them 17, you had them 24, so difference of 7. For me, I kind of like I think for me with some of its expectations. Like I had really low expectations on Fresno, really, and a lot of it was based on your preview of them. Yeah. And it just feels like we're only through a couple games in the season that they've overperformed. So maybe I'm giving them more credit than I should. But I just have positive vibes about them. Like I feel like any game they play, they're going to do probably better than expectations.
I hear you. Man, you had them at 17. We haven't gotten to the top 20. Some schools, you had them ranked above. I had them at 24. So, yeah, I mean, I had them below the Wisconsins, the Wyomings, the Marylands. But, again, a bit of a coin flip here this early on in the season. 2 others that we had a discrepancy. Of course, the PAC-12, the Washington State and the Oregon State. Still a little hard to get a read on there. Oregon State starting off 0-2. I've been saying I think you could see this team be potentially 0-5. Yeah. So I racked them pretty good. I actually had them down at 30th in our rankings here, Steve. Maybe a little too hard on them. But I'll tell you what, if they start 0-5, they're going to be down around 30, 29, I think, here come weeks 4 and 5. So what are your thoughts on them?
Well, I think with them, it's the tale of the two together.
Yeah.
Washington State and Oregon State, and similar to expectations. We thought Oregon State was going to be better this year.
Yeah.
They've kind of underperformed, and we thought Washington State was really going to struggle.
Sure.
And they've maybe overperformed slightly than our expectations.
Sure.
They end up being 25 and 26, but I feel like they're crossing paths right now. One is kind of going downward trend. One might be on upward trend.
And as I said, Oregon State, the biggest mover, and they went down 8 positions from last week. So, all right, let's get to our middle third, Steve. I'll let you take this group 20 through 11.
Yeah, so 20 we have Air Force, just solid kind of. Middle looks like maybe middle of the road Mountain West team, but has the potential to sneak up in there in that top group of contending Mountain West teams. So I think they have some more room possibly to climb. They're just behind UCLA at 19, who's had a really disappointing start to the season. Lost straight up to UNLV. They had lost to Utah. I think is a good Utah team.
Sure.
And I think if I remember correctly, they play New Mexico here pretty soon.
Yes, they do.
And honestly, with the way they've been playing, I'm not going to say that New Mexico is going to upset them, but it's an opportunity there. It really is for another upset. So definitely kind of a downtrending team. 18 Hawaii. I think both of us just kind of have good vibes about them, especially if Alejandro, if he can get back healthy. Rutgers, I mean, they just are what they are. They're just right there, middle to bottom third of the Big Ten. San Jose State at 16, who were both really high coming in, but an 0-2 start. They had kind of a tough start to the season. We'll see. I still think they have a lot of potential. Michigan State at 15, they moved up a little bit. And Michigan, right now they're right on the heels of Michigan at 14. And these two teams, Michigan State, similar to Washington State, Oregon State, you almost feel like they're about ready to cross paths as they move. Boise right there at 13, they dropped 5. They got their butts handed to them by USF. But, the next week, USF, they go ahead and knock off Florida. They have a big chance against Miami. Maybe we're penalizing Boise a little too much, but we looked at it as we thought Boise were potentially the best G6 team, and now it doesn't quite look like that anymore. Right. So it's probably fair to be 13 right there. Iowa at 12, UNLV at 11. Man, I'll tell you, I love UNLV. I thought about putting them in the top 10. Yeah, but I'm like, they have so much room to grow yet. There's no shame for them right there at 11. And when you look at the first week and how they've grown and their potential, they have everything in front of them this season. I mean, all their goals in front of them. Mountain West title, potential college football playoff. So I love them right there at 11 with a lot of potential to move up.
Well, I'm wearing my UNLV Rebel shirt because they are our highest ranked Mountain West team here coming in at 11th. I did rank them in the top 10. I think right here at 10 or 11, whatever that. I think that's right where they should be. So I have no issues with them being at 11 at all. And I agree with you. I think there's plenty of growth there, and they could be in for another 3 straight here. Really strong seasons. Yep. I want to talk about a couple teams. So you mentioned, that Michigan State, Michigan down here 4 from our last rankings. They certainly didn't blow out New Mexico there, and then they lost to Oklahoma. A team sitting here at 14th that, they could continue sliding. And we'll see what happens. I know you mentioned on your your 10 Big Things episode that coaching is an issue there. So we'll see Michigan State up 5, one of our biggest jumpers to the positive, and we'll see where they go. You're right. I mean, those paths come week 4, we do this every other week, but come week 4, you may see a cross of these two teams.
And when I picked, we picked all before the season started, we picked exact record predictions for all Big Ten Mountain West teams, and I actually had Michigan State this year knocking off Michigan, had Michigan kind of having a down year, and so far it looks like we'll see. I mean, Oklahoma, good, solid SEC team. For sure. The score, it wasn't a blowout, but there were some plays. Michigan just looked out of sorts. And so we'll see. But yes, it could be a tale of two teams heading in different directions.
Well, 2 Mountain West teams I need to talk about, Boise State and San Jose State. Some people may say, wow, San Jose State at 16, they're 0-2. Why do you have them ranked so high? I think they have a lot of upside. I think they're a better team than what they showed. They should really be 1-1. They missed 2 field goals there and to be 1-1. They lost to Texas, but they covered the spread, and other than a really disastrous second quarter where they turned the ball over 4 times, didn't have a bad showing against, the number 1 team, as people had it in the nation. So, are we giving them maybe a little bit benefit of the doubt right now? I would say we are, but I think we're banking on what this team is kind of moving forward. I think 16 is very respectable. Boise, they're at 13. Clearly, they drop out of the top 10. We had them in the top 10. They have that loss to USF. I think at 13 is right where they need to be.
Yeah.
I think they need to prove that they can move themselves up in this ranking. I think, right here between 11 to 15 is where they're going to live. We expect a loss to Notre Dame, but outside of that, you expect them to kind of run the table. But given what we saw with USF, and I know what USF has done, I mean, is this Boise team maybe a 3 or 4 loss team this year? Yikes. I'm not saying they will be.
Yeah.
But, I think there's maybe a couple more questions than people think. So I just wanted to say Iowa, Boise State, and Michigan are 3 teams that we had in our preseason top 10 that have now dropped out of the top 10. So we're going to have 3 new teams in the top 10, but Iowa, Boise State, and Michigan have dropped out. Probably not overly surprising for me there.
No. You were surprised when we did these the first time. Was it right after week 0, I think?
Yeah.
That I had Michigan so high.
I was surprised you had them that high.
And based on what I had been saying of what I expected them from this season, for me, I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt, let them show it, and they haven't really shown it too much. So they're probably falling back to where they kind of maybe should have been.
Sure. Well, let's get to our top 10. We're going to divide this up. We'll do 6 through 10 first, and then I'll let Steve handle the top 5. And we have 2 big movers to the positive here in 6 through 10. So Minnesota at 10, that's about where we had them in the preseason, starting off exactly kind of where we thought they would be. Solid Big Ten team. Florida State up to 9 here. They're up 6 from our last ranking. The biggest mover to the positive here are the Seminoles. Of course, they have that huge week 1 win versus Alabama. And then Nebraska up 5 here into number 8. Again, looking really strong. Washington at 7. Indiana just out of our top 5. They're at 6. And so Florida State, Nebraska, and Minnie, the 3 new schools into our top 10, Steve. Probably not too much of a surprise given the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. Not much of a surprise for me at all. We saw the potential. I think definitely with Minnie and Nebraska, we saw the potential. Let's see what Florida State's been maybe a little bit more of a surprise than anybody thought.
Sure,
they've kind of skyrocketed up here pretty quick, and that the team in here, I'll say I looked at the AP top 25, and there was 2 teams. I won't say the other one quite yet because we haven't gotten to them.
Okay.
But Nebraska's not ranked in the top 25.
Okay.
I think is absolutely crazy, especially with some of the teams that are ranked right now.
Yeah.
I think you'll see them get into the top 25 rankings here pretty soon.
Yeah.
They've gotten off to a good start to the season. That win over Cincinnati at a somewhat neutral site,
sure,
in Kansas City.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good solid win for them.
Yeah.
For a team who does not have a very hard Big Ten schedule this year and can rack up some good wins. So and Minnie, I'm high on Minnie this year. I'm a little higher on them than you are.
Yep.
But I think that's another team that's just going to keep racking up wins, and I think we'll see them. The pollsters will get them at some point, but we got them in our top 10.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota's one of the teams that I did have UNLV ranked ahead of.
Yeah.
Again, that's one that we disagreed on a bit. You had them all the way up in 8th. I had them down in 13th. But I get it. I know you're big on them. I'm not quite as high on them at this point, but again, as we do the averages of these 2 things, I think things shake out fairly well. So, all right, Steve, well, we have our top 5. I'm going to let a little bit of the cat out of the bag. We have 2 different ties in the top 5. Probably not going to be too surprising for people here as it shakes out. I will also say our top 7 have not moved out of the top 7 from the preseason. So they've shuffled around a little bit, but everybody that started in the top 7 is still in the top 7. So, Steve, break down our top 5 here.
Yeah. This top 7 group, like you mentioned, they're pretty solid top 7. They're going to stay there, hang around there for a while.
Yeah.
May shuffle a little bit. But let's go right to number 5, USC, a team who I think is really on the rise. I was high on them coming in the season. I said, I'm not sure if they have enough to compete for a CFP spot, but I think they'll be a lot better in the Big Ten. I'm starting to wonder now, maybe they are a CFP contender. You kind of have the feeling that the top 3 contenders, and we'll get to some of these teams, are the Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon type teams.
Right.
But then, there's that race for maybe a 4th spot, an Illinois, a USC, and Indiana. And we probably wouldn't have put USC in that conversation 2 weeks ago. But they're looking really good. Jaden Maeva looking fantastic. Lincoln Riley, the quarterback whisperer, he's turned quarterbacks into Heisman Trophy winners before. The dude looks great. Like, he looks, really, really, really good. Really in sync in that offense, pushing the ball down the field, high completion rate, high production in the amount of time that he's gotten. The team just looks good. And it's really nice seeing a quarterback who's just like perfectly in rhythm, that has all these weapons.
Yeah.
And that was maybe one of when he was at UNLV, did really good. They had a couple weapons, but man, USC's got 5 stars all over the field, and he's just dishing it out. So this is a team where I think the sky is the limit for them. They've already jumped up a bit. So USC at 5. And then we have a tie for third with Oregon and Illinois. Oregon is just scoring. We did our 10 big things, and I said Oregon wants to score all the points.
Yes.
They want to score 100 every game.
Yep.
Illinois, a team I've been high on. Luke Altmaier, 5th-year senior quarterback, might be 6th year actually. They go on the road. They get that win at Duke, a pretty good, convincing win. I think it's a good win for them. So they're tied at 3rd, which I think is very fair. And then Penn State, Ohio State, our 2 top teams coming into the season, tied for 1st. Ohio State, that big win over Texas early in the season. Just had another big scoring win over Grambling. And for Penn State, they haven't really played anybody. They have another FCS opponent. The big test that's going to shuffle this top 5 is September 27th when we see Penn State hosting Oregon. That'll give us a real taste of how that top 5 is going to sort out, especially the top 3.
Yeah. Well, so you had Penn State as your 1, Oregon or Ohio State as your 3. I had Ohio State as my 1 and Penn State as my 3. That's why they come up with 1 and 1 together. We both had them flip-flopped as 1-3s. I had Oregon as my 2. I mean, you just can't deny the amount of points that they're putting up right now. And until they get beat, I'm going to have them towards the top. And you know how I am with Ohio State. I mean, I say this every time. Until somebody beats them, they're going to be my number 1. So I'm sorry. That's just what I'm going to do. I got to say, Steve, I was a little surprised that you had Penn State still as your number 1, given the good wins, but not incredible wins. It's not like Ohio State beating Texas. It's not like Oregon beating these other 2 teams by 70 points or whatever the hell it was. I know you're big on this team. I just feel like they're like a chicken wing with no bone. They're just like they got no bone in there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
There's nothing that's happened so far this season for me to change it really too much. I think maybe I bumped Oregon up a little bit. I can't remember, but at the very top there's nothing.
You had Oregon, I think, as 4 because you were Penn State. Illinois, you had as 2.
Yes, to me,
Illinois was 2.
Yeah. So for me, Ohio State, Illinois, Penn State, and Oregon. There's really nothing for me that has changed anything. Okay. They're all performing about as I expected they would. I thought that Ohio State would lose a close game to Texas.
Yeah.
They were able to beat Texas. They were able, especially the defense was really good, pushed Arch Manning into not playing so well. And he also had a whole bunch of throws where he had wide open guys and decided to throw it in the dirt or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was a good win for them. But nothing really has changed or has happened that's caused me to change. I think that the big game, September 27th, Penn State, Oregon, that's going to tell us a lot more. And if Penn State loses that game, they're gonna obviously drop.
Sure.
If they have a solid win over Oregon, which is what I thought they've had this whole time, then they're going to again stay where they are at in my mind. The big thing, the team in there that I think is not getting enough attention nationally is Illinois.
Yeah.
I'm big on this Illinois team, and I've been touting them as a CFP contender over and over and over. I have them number 2 in my rankings.
Right.
What's funny, and I mentioned this on our 10 big things.
Yep.
Finally this week, I'm hearing a lot of the national talking heads saying, wait a minute, why aren't we talking about Illinois as a potential playoff team? So finally, maybe we'll start to see them. And they moved up in the top 10. They're 9th.
Yeah.
And I want to mention one other team, because we don't even know if we did mention them, where we talked about them briefly. You said number 6, Indiana. We're all forgetting about Indiana.
Sure.
Man, September 20th, Indiana hosts Illinois. That's a massive game for this top 6 as well.
Yep.
Those 2 weeks, the Illinois-Indiana game and then the Penn State-Oregon game, and they're going to be this month. Those will make some huge differences in these rankings.
Well, we do these every 2 weeks. Make sure you check back after week 4 to see what changes. We didn't have any ties in or in our preseason rankings. We have a plethora of ties here in week 2, and we'll see what shakes out. You know, we had some upsets. You have some teams maybe not performing where you thought they would. Of course, this is all out of conference at this point. We're going to start trickling in some conference play. That's going to give us a better taste of where these schools are as well. So, hey, if you like these power rankings, please make sure you check back in 2 weeks. We'll keep updating these every 2 weeks as the season goes on. And we do live picks every Wednesday night, Steve.
And if they don't like the power rankings, they should go in the comments and tell us where we screwed up.
Yeah, tell us what we got wrong.
Yeah.
Mainly Steve. So with that, hey, we thank you guys for watching this episode. Smash the like button, subscribe if you like our content, and we'll see you next time on The Big Mountain.